Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have the one and only Lou Pimber on the show. And boy, I can't wait to hear his story because he's been in law enforcement and he's done a lot of things and I can't wait for you guys to hear his story. Wait till you see his background. Holy mackerel, it's so nice. So do me a favor if you would, and go ahead and share this out to everybody you know, and let's get a bunch of people on here watching. Stay with me. I'll be right back with Lou Pimber. All right, we are back. Let me bring Lou on. Lou, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate having me. Thank you so much.
I'm grateful that you're here. I love your background. Is that a television with the American flag waving? That is so cool.
It is.
And it's Flag Day.
It is, and it's fine and everything.
I love it. I love that.
It's a YouTube video, just so you know. That's the secret.
Okay? I love that. Yeah, I love that. My daughter, I go to my 14-year-old daughter's room one day, and she's got a fire crackling on her television. I'm like, how'd you do that? She's like, it's YouTube, Dad. I'm like, hey, I'm the tech expert in this house. Stop that. So Lou, I've interviewed a lot of people, and this is really about helping people who are watching. It's about helping them have a breakthrough in life. I think that a lot of us get stuck in a variety of ways. And I think by hearing other people's stories of how they got stuck and how they got through it, I think it's very, very helpful. So
for sure.
Let's start with you telling everybody where you were born and raised.
I'm originally from Nogales, Sonora, Mexico. It's the border of Arizona in Mexico. It's a border town in Mexico.
What's the name of it again?
Nogales or Nogales.
Nogales?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
A lot of infamous people have come out of that region, so some for not good reasons. Okay.
And
some for good reasons.
Yeah. So is that where you were, like, that's where you were raised your whole childhood?
I was actually, for a number of years I was, and I ended up, my parents, my father who raised me and my mother, they came to the U.S. Are we back?
Yep.
So we came to the U.S. When I was probably 6 or 7, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so so I was raised by a stepdad, and I used his last name for many years. Super thankful and grateful for that. And he, he had his own issues, alcoholism, all that sort of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But we were grateful to be in the U.S. I eventually I became a resident alien. I always wondered, why does it have a card that says resident alien on it, And I hated that. Yeah, I was embarrassed. And I was like, I'm a resident alien. What the heck is that,
What is that?
Yeah. And then, but I realized there was a pathway to become, at some point in time, a U.S. citizen, because I knew I was living in the U.S., the land of the free, right, and the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
And eventually became a U.S. citizen, raised in a very kind of a not so good area out in Arizona and the South Tucson area. And, you just got to see a lot of bad stuff a little early in my life. Participate in some bad things early in my life as well. But learn from those lessons. Had a had a great mother who was very good with los chanclazos, She's good at that. and the sandal came off quick and checked us very fast.
Right.
But I learned she was my moral compass and kept me straight, and very thankful for that. You know, finished my schooling out here, finished my schooling out in the U.S. in Arizona, and then I was fortunate enough to, you know, see my father make a lot of mistakes. My stepfather, who raised me,
Yeah.
and have an uncle who I watched make similar mistakes, but are both on two ends of the spectrum, right? And so I learned from that, you know. Yeah, so that's
What
kind of
were
what I grew
some
up.
of the mistakes that you saw them making that
You know, my stepdad, he was a great guy when he was sober. Everybody loved the guy, you know. But when he drank, he'd be gone, and we'd have to move, that sort of thing. You know, pawn shops,
oh,
we had to go track our stuff back at a, find our stuff sometimes, or we get kicked out, we get evicted and stuff like that. And it
wow.
was just a tough time because alcoholism. Some say alcoholism is a disease, but I think when they use that, they use it as an excuse, right? But I think it is a disease of the
Yeah.
soul, of your better judgment. You know what I mean? And
I'm coming up on 22 years sober, so I'm
there
very
you go.
familiar with it.
There you go.
Very
So
familiar with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I tell people it is a disease. It can lead to
Yeah.
disease, but it's a
Yep.
disease. You're eating away at your ability to make sound decisions. Your
Yep.
judgment is affected, right? So his was
Yeah.
affected. Who was seemingly could have been very successful.
Uh-oh. Internet.
He was,
There. You're
yeah,
back.
he was a soldier. Very was a fireman,
Yeah.
and also a raging alcoholic. But my mother would say, "Look, at least he never leaves his house. He's always there for the family." you know. So I always just watched these guys, and
Wow.
eventually, my father ended up out of the picture due to a serious, very bad accident and alcohol related.
Mm,
And then I got to just see that. Those are some of the mistakes I saw.
yeah. That'll drive you one of a couple of different directions as an adult. I always find it interesting that as a that there's normally people or events or things that occur in our childhood that pushes us in the direction that we go as adults. I always
Yes,
find it pretty curious. And that could push you in one of two different directions, right?
yes, yes.
So sounds like it pushed you in the correct direction. It pushed me in the wrong direction, but eventually I found my way back. But
Good.
so talk about after you got out of school, so you were still in Arizona.
Yes, sir.
Where did you end up going to college?
I did go to some college, and then I was in the military as well, going to some college as well.
Okay.
And
What branch?
Army. I was an Army combat medic, and then I was an
Okay.
MP. Yeah.
Thank
And
you for your service.
oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
For me, it was a privilege. I didn't know what the heck I was doing at first, other than I knew my uncle had been a soldier, and I knew I was doing the right thing. And every day I questioned why I was there. I was like, why am I here getting beat up and yelled at
Right.
and doing swimming in sand, in
Yeah.
Fort Bliss, Texas. But I'm thankful for it. It's helped forge me into who I am today,
Right.
and an element to who I am today. And this morning, as a matter of fact, I did a mile, around my block. First mile was a jog. Second mile was lunges. I'm sorry, quarters. Third quarter was lunges, a jog, lunges, and go into my garage and do a workout because that was the example that I was given when I was a soldier, right? And so
Yeah.
I owe it to my community to be prepared always, right? And
Yeah.
I got out and I became a law enforcement officer. I served as a law enforcement officer for many years, and I worked undercover most of my career, and I
Wow.
really enjoyed that. That's what I wanted to do. I had some
Undercover doing what undercover?
drugs, drug deals, cocaine
No
deals, gun
way,
deals, you name
dude.
it. You name it.
Okay. All right. So I know a lot. Before we started, I have a lot of friends who are LEO,
Yeah.
and I'm like, the undercover guys are the ones that always have a little bit of a screw loose. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but I mean, you gotta be crazy to do that stuff.
You know, when I think about it now, Ken, I tell myself, I'm not. You know, I probably would do it again, but
Would you really?
sometimes I say to myself, that was some crazy stuff. I had a great partners like Andy Loza, Vince Tracy, great guys that I work with, Donnie Birch, great men, braver than me, far more talented than I could be. I mean, Jay
Wow.
Sosa, gosh, so many guys that I got to work with. You know what I mean? That I learned so much from.
I think and I'm gonna express my opinion. There's Jackson Crisp, NFL guy right there, man. He's a
Nice.
big dude. You wouldn't want to have to try to arrest him.
No.
He's like 6'9".
Oh
He's
my.
huge. Big dude. But gentle giant though.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
But it, when you got when you got out of the academy, obviously you had to go to the police academy,
Yes.
and you get your first position as so you never worked like the beat. Did you ever do
I did. I
patrol?
did for a short time. I did,
Okay.
and you know, I tell I'm an entrepreneur now, right? So a lot of folks ask me, how is it that you can be the expert in the room? How can I be the expert in the room because I'm so young? I tell them, listen, I was young. I was a young cop too, and I was the expert in that situation because I went to an academy. They taught me, they trained me, and I was field trained. And then because I'm the expert, as long as I'm acting in good faith, I should be okay, right?
Yeah.
So it was a learning curve. It was a learning curve.
Sure.
Spent a short time there, but right away I volunteered. I wanted action. Like I wanted to get into stuff. Uh, I got to work with a guy named Freddie Banks, very talented undercover guy, in the gang unit. And I was in the gang
Oh
task
my,
force, and so you know these guys. I'm working
wow.
undercover gangs. I come from the hood. I'm back in the hood. Now I'm like, it's time to put up or shut up, son, and go buy cocaine, drugs, stolen guns, that sort of thing from bad guys
Wow.
who could care less that you're a cop. You know what I mean? And so,
Wow.
so I'm 24. I'm this young man full of training. I had all this training under my belt from Army SWAT training, Army investigative training, you name it. I went to all these schools that I volunteered. I was just the right place, right time. Then I'm a cop all of a sudden. I'm a bunch of mature grown men who've seen it, done it a little longer than I had at that time, and some much longer than I had. I had to learn humility by way of some of the hazing that I went through with some of these guys, so that I can know my place because I was now no longer number one. I was somewhere down the totem pole where I had
Yeah.
to work my way up,
Yeah.
and that was
That had to be tough.
it was tough. It was a learning experience for me to come in with all this vigor and knowledge, but not my personal skills weren't what they should be because they were all military personal skills, you know.
Yeah. Right. What are some of did you ever have any, you know, we those us civilians that have never done that, the only gauge we have is what you see in the movies or on
Yeah.
television shows, and but did you ever have any situations where they were like, I know you're a cop, man?
You know, it happened a few times,
Did it really?
but only once were they serious, right?
Wow.
A few times it was just like they're just kind of it's nervous energy that
Yeah.
happens from people, you
Yeah.
know, and it would happen. Like, are you a
Yeah.
cop? Are you a cop? Or why hell asking me if I'm a cop? Do I look like a damn cop? You look like a cop. Why are you asking all these damn questions like a cop? You know? And so it does happen, okay? It does happen. But see,
Wow.
that's where I write in my book, I write about street theater. That's where the theater comes into play. That's where you have to be quick on your feet, you know,
Yeah.
quick thinking and have a good comeback. You ever have a buddy who's quick with a comeback?
Yep.
You know, it's like that. You have to be ready for a comeback. You can't be caught on your heels, because then, right? So you have to be ready. You have to be ready for those things and expect it to happen while not being cop-like at all. You know, and so, but it was a good time. Yeah, I had walked in the house. The guy was selling heroin. This thug gangster, and there was an incident where he I walk in. He says, "I need you to pick up your shirt." And I'm like, "Bro, we just met. Why I gotta pick up my shirt, bro?" He goes, I need you to see if you pick up your shirt right now." All right. And another guy comes out and he says, "You gonna pick up your shirt?" They were looking for some evidence of something. I said, what are you going to pick up my shirt for, bro? You pick up your shirt. This is fucking weird, bro. He goes, "I need to know if you're carrying a gun." I said, "Are you carrying a gun?" He goes, "Yeah." "Well, shit, I'm carrying a gun too, bro." "Now what? We both got guns. What are we going to do? Let's get back to what we're here to do." But it's very high stress. On the surface, you're cool, but underneath, you're like that duck. You're just like, I got to work my way out of this place as soon as possible. Look, and then from there, I spent a couple of years there. Then I went to a federal drug task force, federally funded task force called HIDTA, where I had numerous encounters, just dangerous. With me and my partner Andy, we were sent to investigate some of the most vile, dangerous drug dealers that drug dealers didn't want to deal with sometimes.
Wow.
So we would get introduced to them through informants, through other agencies, some three-letter agencies, and we would, through street theater, work our way to meet these people.
Wow.
With the intention of dirtying them up and then putting them away. And sometimes they won, and many times we won. But it's a dirty, dirty business, ugly business. I went to visit a guy one day at his house just to stop in and say, "What's up?" No money, no drugs, no nothing, just to go shake hands, kiss babies type of thing, right? Knocked on the door, go inside. My partner's outside. We're talking. It seemed like forever, but it must have been minutes. He walks away, comes out, looks out the window, locks the door, locks the top deadbolt that I didn't see because it was above my eyesight. He says, "What do you want here with us?" I get up, I walk to the door. He puts his hand behind me, locks it again, checks the lock. I turn around, there's a guy with a gun right behind him like this, down the hallway.
Oh my God.
Wow. So you better start thinking very, very, very fast.
Wow.
And what happened at that moment, I would have had maybe an occasion or two where my life flashed before me, but this one was odd because it was an image of my son, and then it was an image of me around the same age that flashed before me. It was just this vision that came by like that.
Wow.
It was my instinct telling me I was about to die.
Oh my God.
And there's numerous I almost died moments that you can only survive so many I almost died moments in your lifetime.
Right.
And so we went through, not just me, but many of us went through that stuff. And they asked you, "Why'd you do that kind of work?" Well, one, we were young, full of vigor, full of energy. We wanted to live purpose-filled lives.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was dangerous.
Yeah.
Somebody once wrote, "Don't live your life expecting to arrive safely at the end."
Right. Right. Yeah.
What's the fun of that?
But I mean, come on, man. You're in that's a different realm of like, I'm gonna live full out and go take on the cartels and drug dealers, and
they're calculated
insane, man.
Calculated.
Right. So, and I told you, I've been around it. A buddy of mine flies helicopters up in Ohio, spotting, he like, this guy can see a marijuana plant from 1,000 feet. Like, I'm like, how do you even see that, man? That's crazy. Yeah. But so you did that. How long did you do that? The undercover stuff with the drug or it started with gangs, but probably all went back to drugs, I would imagine.
I spent a total of 15 years in law enforcement, 10 various undercover assignments. Wow. But I got hurt on the job. And it was a very unfortunate situation that happened. Okay. And by the way, that's what my counselor said to say, that it helped me process it better. Okay. And it works. Right. It works. I got hurt in the job. I got hurt. It was a uh, let's just call it friendly, not friendly fire, intentional friendly fire situation that happened.
Wow.
And I had to medically retire out. I suffered a traumatic brain injury, a dislocated jaw, a permanently damaged inner left ear, all sorts of problems with post-traumatic stress that just creeps up on you. I go around the country. I talk to cops or other organizations. I say, listen, man, post-traumatic stress happens not because you're weak men or women. It's because we're noble men and women. We're good men and women. We're not predisposed to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it happens because we are noble men, but it happens. It doesn't make us weak. We just need to know how to deal with it, recognize it.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson once said, as long as you are clear between right and wrong, you'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's intense, man. So
Yeah.
you took fight, like you took shots, like you got shot, it sounds like.
I got beat up really bad.
Oh.
I got beat down really bad on an arrest.
Wow.
I was taken into custody, but beat up pretty bad.
Wow. Holy crap. So okay. Well, we don't have to go into detail, but I think my imagination's working pretty well with that.
It took me years to get over it. It took me 4 years to recover, physical therapy, all sorts of stuff, health wise, a lot of stuff. Thank you, Jackson. And so I ended up, look, I went through a divorce, all sorts of stuff happened. And sometime later on, I met a lady named who really helped me, forced me to have to, like, you need to write a damn book about this, what happened to you. You know what I mean? And because of her, I wrote this book, because of her pushing me and challenging me. And my wife's name is Rhonda. I believe she's listening. And she says, you got to write this. I said, I don't know how to write. How do I tell on other people, man? How do I tell on the men and women that I love so much? And I realized I'm not telling on all of them. I'm telling on one or two of them.
Yeah.
And I'm telling on just one or two of them. And my wife was like, just write it, man. 7 years ago, I started writing this book and I put the notebook down. I couldn't write anymore.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt guilty. I felt like a little pretentious, right? And so a year ago, she books a cruise. She goes, you're going to write that book. So I took the computer and I started writing.
Good.
Started writing. And it helped me. And it isn't a great book. It isn't a hero book in any way. I do talk about various undercover ops in that book, but it's about reinvention. It's about forgiveness. It's about getting better. It's about going through the crap that you go through, and you just have to push through, believing that this too shall pass, that the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, because in order for you to achieve the best is yet to come, you got to go through all the crap you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so I had to go through a lot of crap, man, to get through it. And it pushed me. I believe that we can create our own luck, right? I ended up on television and movies, and visiting friends. The lady says, aren't you like a soldier or a cop? I say, I was both. There's a guy from Mexico filming a movie out here, needs a guy to train his actors to do the weapons and stuff like that. I said, I could probably do that. She says, but do you speak Spanish? I said, see, claro que sí, I speak Spanish. I'm like, oh my God. That was me. You guys set me up here. And that's why I got started in movies, I got started in movies that way. And I saw it. I had this idea to make this movie, started writing it. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to cost a fortune. So I got with a writer and we did a short film called Duress, Duress, which is on my YouTube channel, Lou Pimber. Duress. Let me tell you something. It is probably the most realistic undercover cop thing you'll ever see on television. I haven't seen anything like it before. I haven't seen it. It's won awards and film festivals. It's won a bunch of different places, it's done really well, but it was made with the intention to highlight the good men and women out there, the good undercover cops out there. They're out there risking their lives every single day.
Yep.
To get those drugs off the street, to put away drug dealers and that sort of thing, the smugglers and all that stuff, right?
I've seen. I told you that I've seen. People. I'll just say civilians, because I was the only civilian that saw some of these emails and stuff that went around, and man, this I don't think people realize how brutal the cartel can be. Like I mean, brutal.
It's a very dangerous business.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous business. Take no prisoners. If you do, they're not going to be prisoners very long. It's brutal. I was negotiating $1 million drug deals, multi-kilo cocaine deals. Jeez. I was passing myself off as a supplier of drugs, and we were in the process seizing millions of dollars from drug traffickers to hurt them in the pocket, right? And put together conspiracy cases along the way.
It's insane. It's an insane business. So you did that for you said 15 years. You had to medically retire.
Correct.
From your injuries. And how long ago was that you retired from law enforcement?
It's been now, probably 10 years now, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your first year, 2 years, I mean, I know a lot of cops that, I was just talking to a buddy of mine that's a detective up in Ohio. That he's literally counting the days, because being a cop today is a whole lot different than it was even 10 years ago. Like, it's just the politics and the there's far too many people that have a hatred for cops and they don't even know why. And I think that's ridiculous personally, but when you're retired, especially under the circumstances, what was the first year of retirement like for you? Did you have were you pissed off?
It's a great question. No one's ever asked me that. It was horrible. I felt like I had once been the samurai wielding a sword, where I had been remanded by my master to become a gardener. Right? And then by the way, Ken Wall, the actor, who inspired me to work, was one of the people who inspired me to work undercover, just so you know, from a TV show named Wise Guy back in the day.
Yeah.
But during that time, I was going through a lot of stressors in my life. Remember, you're living a high-speed life. Hits, search warrants, arrests, high speed. Oh my God, I almost died. Oh my God, I almost died. Oh, that was crazy. Did you see that? Boom. Night after night after night after night to nothing. All of a sudden, all that action came to me in my dreams. And then they become nightmares. And then your nightmares start to mess with you. They take what you love, and it becomes a post-traumatic stress type thing. It takes what you love and it combines what you fear, and it makes it into one nasty looking dream.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did that, I mean, what's that?
Post-traumatic stress robs people like a thief. It robs you, man.
Yeah.
It robs you if you let it. And I suffered for a good 4.5 years. Every now and then I'll still go through these weird nightmares. My wife Rhonda, she's like, sometimes she gets mad at me because I'll yell stuff in the middle of the night. But I've just learned to process it differently now. You know what I mean? I laugh at myself like, oh my God, that was so dumb.
Yeah.
You know? But
I think that how about again, without, you don't have to go into detail, but it sounds like you medically retired under duress.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you lose that that brotherhood of the thin blue line? Did you feel like you had lost that camaraderie with your fellow officers?
That's a hard one, brother, because in the way I did, in the way I didn't. You see, it's like in police work and other probably military work as well. When you work in a specialized unit, you're part of a tribe. And
Yeah.
when you're not running with the tribe, you're outside of the tribe. That tribe is still running.
Yeah.
And you're over here.
Yeah.
Part of me feels I'm no longer part of the brotherhood.
Right.
Part of me feels like they don't want anything to do with me. Right. But what you don't realize is that every one of them was looking at you, and I knew they were looking at me, and I had to, those who hurt me intentionally, I had to beat them. I had to win through success. And those who were my friends, I had to be a good example,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I went through this huge lawsuit, which I lost, by the way. But my lawyer said, listen, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yes. I'm going to look at my kids one day. I got to tell them I did something about it.
Yeah.
And he says, if you do, you may never, ever cross that thin blue line again. You may never cross back.
Right. Right.
And he was dead on, man. I went through a lot of stuff during that time. A couple hate messages, a couple situations in a parking lot, situations in an elevator, stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow. I can tell you don't want to go deep on that. And I get it. I get it. I totally understand. Because I couldn't imagine having, nobody can imagine that. Nobody like that. That's insane. So you come out of all this. Sounds like you eventually ended up in counseling, which is a good thing, really good thing. Because
everybody needs counseling, man.
Oh, dude, I've spent years in counseling.
Yes.
Why do you think I'm a recovered alcoholic? There
you go, man.
So, but like, I agree. Everybody could use counseling.
Yeah.
But so was there a time after retirement when you feel like you had that Gestalt therapists call it that aha moment? Like when you had that, I'm free of all the bullshit stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
yes. And I'm never going to be free from it. I see to cope with it differently. Right. But yes, it was when I had to go to the speech therapist because I had problems with not reading comprehension, but reading itself, because the words were just kind of shaking in front of me all the time. Right. And the therapist said, you should pick up books and just read them and practice reading. And I picked up a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Changed my life
Robert
forever.
Kiyosaki.
Changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And then I read all of his books. And I picked up The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. And I picked up all these books.
Yep.
And it allowed me to, it was an exercise in vision to see myself, hey, listen, I can be successful. I can work towards having successful kids like Donald Trump. I can be successful. I can be a developer of real estate like Robert Kiyosaki. I can become the rich dad, you know?
Yep.
And what's interesting, man, is years later, I'm at Patrick Bet-David's house, who's one of my mentors in business. I'm at his house, and there is Robert Kiyosaki.
Sharon Lecter's a friend of mine.
Okay. So, his wife, yeah.
Yes. No. She was his business partner.
Yes.
For years. Yeah. She helped build that empire.
Yeah.
I think that, I have a couple of friends. I remember talking to one buddy who has this, he's in law enforcement. He was in my stop by. I always had open door for all cops. Come in my office, free coffee. If we have donuts, you can have a donut.
Yeah.
But I always got cleaned out. But anyway, and a buddy of mine's in there, and he's telling me about the night before he's chasing some dude into a dark house.
Yeah.
That had a gun shooting at him, and he's still chasing him. And I said, there are safer things you could be doing. Like, don't you ever think like, gosh, I'd love to have a business. He tells me this business plan he wants to do this thing. And I said, dude, do it. He's like,
Yeah.
nah, man, I got to wait till I retire. I got this security. And I'm like, dude, I cannot relate to that. You're afraid to go start a business, but you're not afraid to chase a guy shooting at you into a dark house. There's no logic in that. I'm sorry. There's not.
We need dangerous men like that.
I know. I'm not one of them, just for the record.
We need men who know how to be monsters, but control the monster. So Jordan Peterson says, you got to be a monster.
Yep. Yeah.
And we need to know how to be a monster when we have to be a monster for the good, of our community, because that's what it takes. The job of a cop there's a lot of things a cop does. There's a lot of service that happens, but the job of a cop is to protect. He's the guy they call at 1 a.m. to go get the bad guy.
Yep.
So that you don't have to.
All these anti-gun people, like, who are you going to call if somebody, like, you're going to call somebody with a gun to come and save you? Like, it's just, right. I don't know. Anyway, so all right. So you had that moment, right, where you started forgiving, you started the process of healing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where did things go for you from there? And when did that start to kind of change after you retired?
When I found acting as therapeutic is when things really started changing for me, because it pointed me in a different direction. When I started implementing the entrepreneurial things I learned from all the books I read, things started changing. When the movie Duress is an excellent example. I did other films as well that allowed me to exercise those demons that were haunting me sometimes, but in a safe environment. I was able to, it was therapeutic. I was able to act that out again. Right.
That's awesome.
But really the key to me being able to have a breakthrough, right, was my changing my associations, right? Yep. Upgrading my associations and reading good books and really focusing on where I'm going to spend my time at, and my wife and I, we eventually started a business, and I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I got to work.
No, you're not. This is your story, man.
I got to work on a show called Breaking Bad. I got to fulfill certain goals of mine during that.
You were on Breaking Bad?
It was, yep. I was on the show.
Oh, wow.
And I was on a show called Gang Related on Fox, and then on numerous commercials.
Do you know who my best friend is? Do you know?
Who's that? Who?
Glenn Morshower.
Yeah.
We had lunch yesterday. He lives here in Dallas.
That's
so
awesome.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you've done all that. How many films have you been in?
How
many IMDb credits do you have for TV and film and everything?
I haven't looked at it in a while. Probably like 20 something. Probably. And then
wow, good for you,
15,
man.
20, another 15, 20 commercials. A bunch of print ads. I was on the side of a bus.
Wow.
My wife Rhonda in Arizona owned a talent agency, and at the time she didn't know if she would become my wife. I didn't know she would become my wife, right?
Right.
And so she would cast people, and then she called me one day. She goes, "Hey, I heard you're an actor." I said, "Yeah," and we need a guy to play a dentist, a Spanish-speaking dentist for a chain of dentistries. I said, "Sure," and then that's how I kind of met her. I met her daughter first, actually. And then I told her daughter, "Hey, why isn't Rhonda here?" She goes, "Oh, that's my mom." I said, "Oh," I said, "Okay." And then I said, "Well, I kind of got a crush on her. I kind of like to meet her,
Is this the Ashley you're talking about up on screen right now?
Yeah, that's Ashley. That's her daughter. Yeah, that's her.
That's awesome.
So Ashley, as a matter of fact, super talented makeup artist. super talented photographer, and so she was
Wow.
there doing makeup, and
Wow.
so then I eventually met her mom, Rhonda. Her name, at the time, her name was Rhonda Moretti, successful realtor, and then owned a talent agency called Balazzo Models, published a magazine. And so we got together. We became business owners together, and we've been married now. Damn it, why did I go there? I think it's been 8 years. 8 years. 8 years.
How
8 years.
long?
8. Yes.
8 years. Okay.
It's and so
Ashley's comment.
yeah, I'll be
Oh,
afraid you
that's
didn't say that. And
that's
so
funny.
and so and we started now we own a business. We're in the insurance and financial services industry. We're big on financial literacy. We do a lot of retirement planning, 401k
Wow.
rollovers, that sort of thing. Middle
Yeah.
class America is hurting from lack of financial education. Let's just face it, everybody is. And
Yeah.
so that's our crusade now, man. Sometimes people
Yeah.
ask me, like, what makes you tick? What makes you happy? I said, I'll be honest with you, I'm not always happy,
Right.
but what
Right.
brings me happiness is being productive,
Yeah.
being productive and being able to feel productive, right? And so
Yeah.
we've helped a lot of people. I developed a lot of people to become business owners. Big shout out to my agents, for my firm, 212 Degree Financial Group, and to PHP Agency, and shout out to them. And they're in Arizona. Some here in Houston, Texas. I'm in Houston now,
Yeah.
and
It's nice and cool down there this time of year.
yeah, it's very nice and cool. Yeah, and that's what we do now. We're
Yeah.
changing lives that way. And I heard one of your guests one time talk about financial literacy for kids. My wife and I have a program for that. It's called Entrepreneur Lab Junior, where we teach
Wow.
youngsters about the principles of financial planning, what
Wow.
schools don't teach.
Yeah.
So if you find a crusade in your heart and you're committed to it and you're willing to suffer through it, you can
Yeah.
get
Right.
through it. You can help a lot of people.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
help a lot of
Yeah.
people along the way.
So well, you're with Patrick Bet David's company then,
Yeah,
I guess, PHP.
based on
So and he's amazing. I love that dude. I
Mhm.
mean, he's just freaking amazing.
I've
Um,
traveled the world with the guy. Incredible guy, super smart.
wow. Wow. You know anybody that can get him on my show?
I mean, I can ask him.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
So he's probably watching. I'm betting that he's watched for
probably
years
is.
and is just waiting on me to ask,
Yeah, he
probably.
is. He's
I mean, I've
way
had Grant Cardone and so right now in I think in this time in the history of the United States for sure, if not the world, um, we're in a really weird place, man. I
yeah,
mean, we're in a weird place. Um, and I truly believe that there's some global elitists out there trying to just get rid of the middle class altogether. It's going to be the elites and the have-nots.
right.
And so what piece of advice would you give, or what would you say to people who are right now struggling just to get groceries or put gas in their car, because I've been there. I mean, I there was a time when I drank a lot and I became
Mhm.
homeless and I
Wow.
was went through all this stuff, but
Yeah.
the people who are struggling day to day right now, what would you say to them to help them have some hope, man?
Look, from 1990 to today, inflation has gone up by probably, or the price of things has gone up by, in some places, 200 to 300%.
Mm,
Education,
yep. Yep.
triple the price of housing, price of gas, everything. But income from 1990 to today, average household income has only gone up by 25%. Okay. So I tell
Right.
people, what are you going to do about it? Right. You get a second job that's going to pay you enough for you not to quit. Right. And you're going to do it just enough not to get fired. Right. But you're never going to get
Yep.
ahead. And if you do, props to you, but understand it's not going to get you where you want to be. And what I tell people, what do you suppose entrepreneurs do? They start a business.
Yep.
You see, so what I tell people is embrace the American dream, embrace capitalism, because nobody is fleeing capitalism. Nobody is, fleeing America to go to Cuba, to go to Venezuela, they're not fleeing these places because of that. They come here.
Yep.
Because this is the land of opportunity, and you have to believe it. You have to believe it, but you have to be willing to endure the process. You see, so if you're struggling to put food on the table, which is what your question is, I encourage people, start a business. Look, as much as I am against illegal immigration, I'm an immigrant myself, legal immigrant. I earned my immigration, my U.S. citizenship, and my Army Class A uniform. Very proud of that. And I was 20. But when immigrants come here, they believe in the American dream. And too many Americans today are failing to believe the American dream. And that is
Amen.
the ability to start a business. I go through Houston and I watch people and I'm like, this guy's killing it. And he's cutting people's grass.
Yep.
He's trimming tree and he's making money.
Yep.
$50 a house, 10 houses a day. It's his. He owns it.
I mean, that's $3,000 a week if you take Sunday off. I think that brings up a great point. I mean, the guy that mows my yard is from Mexico originally, right?
Yeah.
He's a legal immigrant.
Yeah.
But the people in, how do I say this without pissing off everybody from America? Like there's this entitlement, like just because you're from here doesn't entitle you to anything. Like you gotta work for it, man. I don't judge me, but I get a sausage egg McMuffin with cheese every morning and a cup of coffee. It's just my thing. And
Right.
you can hate me or I don't care. But I'm learning Spanish from the people at McDonald's because but the problem is that people bitch about it, but they go, I can't understand what they're saying and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I get that. There's times when I get frustrated, like no comprendo, I don't understand what you're saying, but the I'm just going to say it, man. The Americans, some of the Americans that are in these institutions, these restaurants, these places, they have attitude. And the Spanish people, Spanish speaking people are so friendly and so nice and so happy to be here and live from a sense of gratitude. And
correct.
I don't know. It's just different, man. It's completely different.
If as long as you have gratitude, things will start falling into place.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Look, I got another example. Like this gentleman I'm partners with, his name is Aaron. Guy's went through some hell, right? But he knew that he can rely on his wits and start a business.
Yeah.
And he's actually engaged to Ashley Verheyden, who was on here a minute ago. And there he is. And and so because of guys like that, because of people who want to start a business, because of people who see themselves as more, right? Because of people like that is why America is what it is today. It's the reason America is as great as it is because of capitalism.
Yep.
Because of capitalism.
Yeah.
And so you're right. Too many of us, I guess I include myself in there, but too many people who are born here, live here, reside here, they take it for granted. And it's true. Good times have created weak men and women.
Yep.
It's time you get out there and suck it up.
Yep.
And get out there and get to work and go get yours because it's there for the taking. But it's quick when you're absolutely right. You mentioned there's a decline, right? But that decline's been happening for years, except we've just been ignoring it. It's like a bratty kid who's bratty when they're 2 and you do nothing about it. And then they're 6 and then they're 8 and then they're 12 and then they're 22. And you're like, what happened? No, we just weren't paying attention when they were 2.
Yeah.
Course correction. And so this decline started when I used to say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in my school. There was. I remember we used to have a prayer moment, and then they took it away, and there was a moment of silence. Brother, when you remove that moral compass,
Yep.
And it just opens the door for a lot of things. When you remove that moral compass of God and faith and love and religion and the golden rule, bro, you're opening the doors for a lot of things to come in. The enemy's always watching.
I saw a meme on Twitter or X this morning that had a gun laying on top of a Bible, and it said the very thing that built our country is also the very thing they're trying to take away. And remove, like, we live in North Texas, in a smaller town. It's North Dallas, DFW. And they still pray in school. They still pray before the high school football games. They still say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they say the pledge to the Texas flag.
There you go.
It's freaking awesome. And that's one of the reasons we moved here from Ohio, is because this is God and country.
Yeah.
Right.
Some people see that as that it's oppressive. No, it isn't. Go to Mexico at 6 p.m. They play their national anthem.
Do they really?
Yeah. In Mexico, you cannot be flying this flag publicly.
Wow.
I get it. It's respect. It's the Mexican nation. It's the Republic of Mexico.
Yeah.
So in America, you want to come here. I'm proud of my heritage, but damn it, I'm an American.
Amen.
I'm proud of that. And so it's okay to be proud of being American. It's okay to be proud of your white, to be brown, black, whatever persuasion you want to be. It's okay to be proud of that. But what happens is there's people who just cringe when other people are happy for stuff, and they cringe and they lay and they poke and they prod until one person gets their way, and all of us have to pay the price for it.
It's like, I had conservative Ant on the show. He's a gay guy that's extremely conservative, and he has a million followers on TikTok. I mean, he's funnier than hell. He does political comedy stuff. It's funny as hell. And he's like, I don't support the gays. I don't support what they're doing. I don't support Pride Month. I don't, like, he's going into all this stuff. And again, I hate the fact that a lot of these groups, the radical groups, are targeting our children. And I think that, it's what you said. Some of the crazies need to stand up to this a little bit more and go, wait a minute. No, we got to pray in school. We got to bring God back into this, man. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we need to protect our children.
Yes.
We need to protect our children. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven,
Amen. Amen, man. So somebody that, I know what my answer is. I teach this stuff, and you do too, but somebody that maybe they want to start a business, but fear's holding them back. What would you say to them? What would you do to try to motivate them to reach for the next rung on the ladder?
I always tell people, become a student of whatever it is you want to get into business for, right? But there's really 4 steps to working towards creating wealth for yourself. And number 1 is you have to learn sales, because everything's about sales.
Amen.
Right? Number 2, you have to become an entrepreneur, which means you have to make an investment in yourself somehow, right? My agents come in, they make an investment in themselves, in a platform where they work off of, and a licensing program. You can't expect to make a profit if you don't have a cost, right? Amen. And then number three, you have to be ideally work towards being in an industry that's in demand with every generation, right? So there's a lot of them. I chose financial services because I can set up a college fund for a kid, and I can get mom and dad insured, and I can protect grandma and grandpa's 401k.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And number 4, this is key. You have to have a system to mentor and coach you along the way. Otherwise, you're moving by braille. You're just kind of with your eyes closed trying to figure it out. And your competitor is not going to teach you how to be their competitor, right? No. So a system. Problem is, systems are expensive. Franchises are expensive, right? Yeah. I always tell people, look, follow someone that you believe that you want to be like, and do what they do. Copy, rob and duplicate.
Yep.
That's what everybody else does. There's nothing super unique that Michael Jordan did. He just did it better. He robbed and
Yep.
duplicated what Will Chamberlain did. There's nothing
Yep.
that I do that any other people in my industry are doing that's super unique. I'm just
Yep.
duplicating it.
That's right.
I
remember when Andy Frisella, I was just telling somebody this yesterday. Andy Frisella was on the show. If you know who he is, I was terrified to interview him, man. I mean, I was scared to death to interview him, and I don't know why. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
But he said that him and his partner, he said, we didn't make any money. Like we made $50,000 in the first 10 years. That's an average of $5,000 a year profit.
Yeah.
And he said, we were like, he goes, I was always like, I got to have all the women and all the cars, and I got to have this. And he said, and this woman walked in and crying, saying how much our products changed her life. And it was in that moment that I said, you know what? I don't care if we ever make a profit at this point. Now it's all about servicing customers and getting that feedback.
Yeah.
And now they do over 400 million a year. So, he's doing something right.
There you go. Very good point. Find a problem and find a solution for it.
Amen. That's the truth, man. It's the truth.
And here's the other one. If someone wants to have success in business, stop seeing things with your eyes and see them with your mind.
Yeah.
Too many of us see that as, oh, that's just a dirty lot. Empty, dirty lot. We should see it as what it could be.
Yeah.
Right? What it can be. Vision. Yeah. And
I agree.
Too many people are lacking in vision. We have a leader in the White House who just sits there and sells the nightmare. Yeah. We have leaders within our communities who sit there and sell the nightmare, the victimhood.
Yeah.
Well, stop. Enough with that.
Yep.
Sell the dream, man. We need to be better at selling the American dream. The guy in the White House is selling the American nightmare. Sell the American dream. Our country was founded on men and women who sold the American dream, and these men and their wives were imperfect, sinners, rough, tough men, but who took a chance, who signed on the dotted line. It became the Declaration of Independence. And there's one or two who didn't sign it because they were afraid, and no one will ever know their name.
That's right.
But they became great at selling the American dream. We have to be better.
Yeah. I agree, man. I feel it. I'm getting fired up right now. So what do you think? And I ask this question always at the end. What do you think? And you can't say fear because that's the number one answer. And I feel like you can do better than fear. What do you think stops people? See, I've been homeless. I've been broke. I've gone days without eating. I've been wealthy, and wealthy's better, way better. Right. So, but what do you think stops people from having it all, from having the financial abundance or wealth or however you want to describe it, from having the real freedom and joy and happiness, from having everything, all the things that we all want? You went out, you talked about, you worked out and did all the things this morning, and you worked out in your garage and you're doing the thing, and you can call Patrick Bet David. I can call Grant Cardone or Mark Victor Hansen or Sharon. I mean, I have a huge connection database too, but like Glenn Moorshower, who I talk to every day. But what do you think stopping people, man? What is it that's holding them back?
I think it's a lack of faith. It's faith. People, here's what I mean by that. People want to see it before they believe it. They want to see it before they can believe it. That's why they're quick to take a regular job.
Yeah.
It's like, Ashley's a great example. She just runs on faith, man. Like,
I love
she
that.
believes it before she sees it. So people need to learn to believe it first before you see it. You just practice that, and then really change the words that you say to yourself. You know, I deal with it all the time. I deal with a bunch of negative nonsense all the time. But I have to remind myself, bro, I got a wife who loves me. I got a little granddaughter, Coral, who just popped in my office, who adores me. I got a little grandson named Jax, Jade. These are all Ashley's kids. I'm healthy. I got a dog who loves me. I got a dog who doesn't love me, but it's okay. I still love him. You know, I have a business. I have friends. I got a book. I mean, I have all these things.
Hold your book up, by the way. I want everybody to see your book.
That's right. It's called Breaking Badly.
Wow.
Post-traumatic success story. And
that
it's
is
got some really good reviews on Amazon. It gets into detail on what happened to me, how I got hurt in the job.
Wow. You know? And people can access it through loupimber.com, right?
Yeah, they go to loupimber.com and find it right there. And then you can find it, and it'll take you straight to the link on
That's awesome,
Amazon.
Man.
I've got some great reviews. One is Patrick Bet-David. One is the writer of the show Queen of the South. One is Tom Satterley. Victor Avila, senator. He's running for Senate. You know, and so you gotta go down the list of things you're thankful for, man. Vision, right? Yeah. Practice that. It's like exercise. You got to practice it.
Amen. It's true.
And find some good. Look, if you have challenges, hit me up. LouPimber@gmail. Social media. Find me. I want to talk to you. You know, I want to talk to you. Maybe I'll learn something from you. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know everything.
None of us do. None of us do. What'd you say? Ask my wife.
That's my wife. She does. I'm driving. I got my wife and I got Coral in the back. And then I have navigation. They're all telling me where to go.
I know. I know. Thank God for the, I get it. I get it.
Yep.
So Lou, man, you're amazing, man. Your spirit, you're filled with life and joy. I love that. And you've been through a lot of crap. And I love that you have come out on the other side and you're out here doing it. You're doing the deal.
I appreciate you saying that. And the reason why there's people out there who have confidence in their life is because they've persevered a lot of things. Yeah. They've endured a lot. Endurance leads to confidence, right? And so it's just because I've not just me, a lot of people have endured a lot. And some of those people who've endured a lot don't have the right avenues to exercise them or the right mentorship, people to associate with, you know? Yeah. I've gone through the whole circle of everything. I mean, if you read Breaking Badly, the reason I called it Breaking Badly is because I was messed up for a little while there. I was broken. I was messed up.
Yeah. But there's hope.
There is, man. You just gotta change your associations, man. Yeah. You know, and get out there and be willing to expose your weaknesses a little bit and reach out and get some help. Align yourself with good people.
So, for everybody watching, pretend for a moment that you've got all 8 billion people on planet Earth listening to you at this moment. What would you say as final words? What would you say in 30 seconds or less that would change the trajectory of their lives?
I always tell people, listen, strive to be a leader, right? And a leader doesn't mean you're a boss. So you're telling people what to do. Strive to be the leader of your family, the leader of your circle. But in order to be a leader, you learn how to follow, right? But as a leader, you have to become comfortable, learn how to solve problems and be okay with that. Because if we become problem solvers ourselves, we rely less on government, we rely less on other people, we rely less on other sources if we learn to solve problem ourselves and teach others how to become good problem solvers. Because too many people today rely on outside sources and they become victims because of their lack of how to process issues. Become a good problem solver, right? Become a good problem solver. And work towards getting it right the first time. Because you always have time to do it again. You know? Just work on getting it right the first time.
Amen. Lou Pimber, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on today. For everybody listening on the podcast network, when I get this uploaded. Go to loupimber.com. That's LOUPIMBER.com, and check out his book, Breaking Badly. Get his book, Breaking Badly. And follow this guy, man. Is all your social media on your website?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. It is.
Good.
Instagram.
Everybody, make sure you go follow Lou, and thank you, Troy, for the compliment to Lou. And yeah. So listen, go follow him and go to loupimber.com. Check out his book, get a copy of it, get a few copies of it, give it out to your friends and people give it out to people you don't like, even like give it to them too. Maybe you can mend that relationship.
There you go.
So yeah. So thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on today. Hang out for a minute. We'll chat in a minute. I'm going to wrap the show up. But everybody have an awesome day. If you have not shared this out yet, there is time for you to redeem yourself and go ahead and share this out. And let's get a lot of eyeballs on this interview and a lot of ears listening. Yeah. Thank you, Lou. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
See you guys later.